I'm just finishing out the rest of his shot. I never leave a frame just sitting. Like even if I don't do any more of these, any stuff like this, he has exhausted his right to any more frames in this scene. Wolf started here, and he got some unique frames there, then held here for a bit. There's some unique frames, and then a hold. There where he's like, oh boy, here it comes. So there's a frame turn or frame change for his head turn. And then for these few frames here, he's held for just a second. I originally had some frames where he's like, oh boy, here he goes, da 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 da, or whatever. And I was just like, you know what? Let me cut a little bit of corner here. Just a bit of corner. I have a little bit of corner in a bag of all of the corner I have cut. No, I ain't kidding. I do have to cut corners sometimes. But anyway, if you ever use Adobe Animate and you want to know exactly how the timeline works in Blender's grease pencil timeline, you go up and put it on the dope sheet, go down, make sure you're on a grease pencil. Here's your layers. There's your fill layer, your line layer, and then the mouth layer. I have the teeth, the top teeth, because when a character is holding still like this, see, I don't bother with it here because I just draw each of those mouths is a unique frame. So I just draw it on the mouth frame there when the head's moving. But once the head stops moving, just like right here, I've got to see, notice that glint, just if you're wondering what glint is, it's these little things. It's the when there's no light, that's the console on his car has blue circles with speedometer and tachometer and all that. So that's what glint is. So that's the glint layer. Then the mouth layer, and then the lines layer, and the fill layer. These are the frames of the timeline. Right now, this shot is at frame 800. Like everything before it is at these specific shot changes. Just to save efficiency and keep Blender running fast, I delete all of the other frames of animation at the other camera shots that I'm not using. Thanks, Moist Scoffles, for this. Appreciate it. So anyway, notice here at frame 800, there is a unique frame for every one of these layers. That's the line art, the fill is in the background, and the glint on his eye. And then from here to here, this frame, and this frame don't have an update. You notice the only diamonds you're seeing.
Kiddo.
Thank you, Gamma Jester, for 100 bits.
It'll drive you into some nasty habits.
I appreciate it. But see, as you're going here on the mouth layer, I'm on 2s, so every 2 frames you see the mouth layer update. Remember, that's this layer here. So each of these diamonds is an update. If you've ever done keyframes in Premiere or After Effects or Vegas or whatever, animating an effect or something, that's what these are. And the diamond up here, if there's any change on the frame, on any layer, there will be a diamond up here on the summary layer, denoting that there has been a change made. Notice here, once we get to this, he's completely frozen for these frames. And then see there, his ear and eye change. So, that's part of the lines and fills. And his mouth. Theoretically, I could leave the glint layer alone here and delete these, because the glint doesn't change. See? It's those little 2 things. Because his eyes, if he blinks, then I would have to make a new one. So notice here at this frame he's talking, so the only layer that's updating is this mouth layer. Notice the rest of his face and everything about this character is completely unupdated here and here. Like the glint, his eyes, nothing is changing but the mouth layer. So these don't get unique updates. So now you see right here where every 2 frames everything gets changed. You can just look at this and read it kind of like Braille, knowing where the animation changes are, or Morse code. I don't know. But you see, like the body and the glint. His eye is moving, so the glint has to move, so it gets updated. And now we're back here just for a second with some mouth movements, and then nothing. This whole segment right here, he is completely frozen with no updates. And then eh, eh, on everything. The lines and the fills change because his ears and his eyes. If it was just the mouth changing, then you'd only, just like back here, you'd only see the mouth upgrading or updating. And then you've got all these frames where he's just frozen listening to Fox talk, and then everything and all this unique frames, except for right here where, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames. I have a hold, 7 technically. You see, he's frozen, and then complete change. Everything's changing on these. And now he holds, and it's just the mouth changing. And now everything changes for a long time. It's like a week of animation sometimes. But it's worth it. I will gladly spend a week on like 10 seconds of animation if it makes it just look moi. I don't know. Great. Отлично. Отлично. Я отлично. Все отлично. Как дела? Мои новые друзья из России. So anyway, this is the timeline. When you hit play, it plays, and these are the layers. To get these layers to show up, your grease pencils are an object. Like, see, this is an object. I can move it over here, and it'll be projected over this way. I've completely screwed it up. It's just an object that you can manipulate around in 3D space with the rotating tool, the grab, scale, whatever. And you can make duplicates. Wow. You can make duplicates of them. You can duplicate it with Shift D. You can make a linked duplicate with Alt D. It's treated exactly like a 3D object in Blender. It's no different. It's just you don't get to see these frames until you click on it. See, I'm clicking on Farrah's model and the Game Boy or whatever light sources. But when you click on a grease pencil object, then it shows up. This is in the dope sheet. It's very easy. Here. I'm gonna save. Make sure my OneDrive is off. I'm gonna make a stick figure animation and show you how to do it. All right, new project. We're gonna mouse 3, look around. See, click on this X, delete it. The light source for now, yeah, delete it. X, delete it. And we're gonna go into our camera with keypad 0. And see, now you can control mouse 3, zoom, shift mouse 3. You get knocked out of it again, hitting mouse 3 and going, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Keypad 0 takes you right back to the camera. If you have other cameras looking in a different direction, you hit 0. Notice it's going to this one again. If you want to set a different camera as your camera, it's Control keypad 0. And then 0 to get out of it again. See, and it's rotated. Anyway, new project. We're gonna delete that cube, delete the light. Mouse 3 over here, get a look, make sure everything's empty. Click on the camera, keypad 0 to go in the camera. We're gonna add an item. To add an item is Shift A. These are all the things, if you want to add a cube, a square, a circle, whatever, Shift A. We're gonna go down to grease pencil and add blank. You can add, this is the monkey, and you can add a basic stroke and all that, but right now we're going to add one that's blank. Now over here, this little orange dot means you have it selected. This is your empty grease pencil object. To start drawing in it, you go up here and go to draw mode, or whatever your tab key I think is set to this, and go up to draw. So now we're in drawing mode, and see I'm drawing, but it's gray. So you have to set your materials. Now I'm going to show you where we put materials and things in for, the blue pants of the character, the red shirt, and you get all your animation done, and you look at that character like, I want that character's shirt to be yellow instead of red, and you got to go back and color all of the frames of the red shirt yellow. In this, you go to its materials on this little guy right there, and you add the materials you want for those colors. And after you've already colored all of your frames, you click on that material and edit its color, and it automatically changes it on every frame. So anyway, we've already drawn some lines here, but there's no material, so it just shows up as neutral gray. You're going to click New, and it's going to assign us material. Notice it turned it black. This is material 1. Let's just call it line art. Double click on it, type in line art, enter. There. This material is called line art. It is a stroke. Down here you see stroke and surface, or stroke and fill. In the surface menu you see stroke and fill. It's just like Photoshop or whatever. If it has a fill value, then when I draw, if I set the fill value right now to red and turn it on, see when I draw with it, it's going to have my black outline that I'm drawing, but it's also going to have a fill as well. So selecting all of these, X, delete points, strokes, whatever. We're going to turn off the fill. This is just going to be a stroke material. So when you go up here to draw mode, I set a keyboard shortcut to draw mode. I set mine as Control-Shift-Tab. It's just quicker for me. So when you start a new grease pencil object like this, like what I showed you in the timeline, open the timeline and change it to dope sheet. I don't know why it's on a different thing, but this is timeline is for changing things, scale, rotation, and position keyframes as objects. If you want to go in and edit an object's personal things like its keyframes and animation, you got to go open the dope sheet and change the dope sheet list box to grease pencil. So there we go. We're in our grease pencil object, and you open up summary, and this is it starts it off with a layer called GP layer. Double click on that down here. Let's call it line. So that's our line layer. You can right click and actually go over here. This little green guy. This only shows up when you have your grease pencil object selected. You go to this little green grease pencil symbol here. This is everything about this object. You're going to have one object for every character usually. See, there's the layer we made and called line. You can double click it there and change it too. This is visible, lock, onion skins and all that. Let's add a layer and call it fills, for the color layer. But our fill layer needs to be under the line layer, otherwise we won't see our lines. So that's what these buttons are for. Move up and move down. You've arranged items in a list box before. So we're going to go to our line layer. You can click it up here, or you can even click here. Whichever one is green is the one you're selecting. We're going to go to lines, make sure we're in draw mode. Control mouse 3 zooms in and out. If you don't want to see this grid and the 3D, that little candy cane circle, that is the 3D cursor. You shift right click to put it somewhere. That doesn't show up in renders. It's just, okay, I need a sphere somewhere over here. You shift right click and there's your 3D cursor. You hit shift A in, object mode and, it puts the cube there or whatever. Anyway. In drawing mode, if you click off of an invisible grease pencil object and you can't grab it again, you can always go up here and select it. It's a G pencil. That's what we created. We've got it selected. So go up here to the draw mode. And the 3 things you have to select when you draw is your tool. These up here, I use these. I don't use any other tools drawing in grease pencil. That's your line tool and your fill tool. Line tool, your layer, your tool, your layer, and your material. So line tool, line layer, and then you go back to your objects materials. We have line art selected. So I'm going to draw on frame 1. See, we've got the diamonds mean that there's a new frame for frame 1. So I'm going to just draw a stick man. If you don't want this grid and the 3D cursor turned on, you just click this guy up here. You can right click on it and set a keyboard shortcut. I have mine set to Shift Alt Z, so I can just hit on my keyboard and turn that off. You notice the darkness of the lines is brightening and darkening. It's because I have the pencil brush set. T turns on and off your tools. Yes, when I go out of 3D view and you look at it from the side, it's like Parappa the Rapper. It's a 2D flat thing, but they're in 3D space. I can go in here and sculpt this and move it around and make it in 3D. Now, if you render that with fills inside of it, it's going to look really weird at render time. But if you're just doing strokes, yeah, you can put those in 3D space if you want to. But just for the sake of this little tutorial, we're just going to stay in 2D right now. Remember, if you get out of your view, keypad 0 gets you into it. You see these edit lines? This is edit mode. Just like in the 3D stuff, you can go in here and move everything around just like it's vertices. See, notice we're in edit mode. Always, if you don't know where you are, check this box up here. Object mode is like, oh, we have different objects and rotate them around and move them in 3D space, whatever. Edit mode is when you select an object and now you've isolated it and you're editing the actual geometry, individual vertices, adding vertices to them, whatever. You can only do that in edit mode. If you're in object mode, you're just clicking on full objects and you're not like editing. Like I can't sculpt this right now. I'd have to go click on one object and go to sculpt mode or something. But in object mode, you're just scaling, rotating, and grabbing and moving on a location. To draw, to go into that drawing mode that showed up, you gotta hit tab and go to draw. Tab is a quick change, or you can click up here and change them. Anyway, I'm gonna go to object mode, select this duplicate I made, hit X and delete it. And when I wanna keep drawing on this, we're gonna click on it while in object mode, go up here and go to draw mode, or whatever keyboard shortcut you set. If you wanted to make these at different depths, you can do that. They'll show up behind each other. If that answers your question. Yeah, you can set them to be that way. You can set some in the back to always be in front, like an ammo counter at the bottom of the screen in Doom or something. You can go to the object settings and set it always in front, like right here. This orange square is for any object. Thanks, Poop Deal. Appreciate the follow. This orange object is just the X, Y, Z and rotation and scale of every object you have in Blender. You can go down to viewport display and have it set always in front. This box right here. Even if it's a mile back behind the screen, and there's bushes in front of it, if you have this set, it will always render it in front of the screen no matter what. Like, think of your gun in a first-person shooter game. You know, in some games you can get all the way up on a wall where it's blurry, but your gun down at the bottom where it should be sticking through the wall is still rendered on top of everything. That's what that's for right here, just to explain it. Anyway, keypad 0 to get back inside our camera. You'll know you're in the camera when you see the frame like this. We're going to select this object, and we're going to go back into drawing mode. I'm going to turn off the grid up here. T shows you your tools. N shows you the properties of the tool you're using. If you go to the tool tab here, this is the N key. See, we're set to pencil. This is what messed me up so bad the first time I tried grease pencil, because I was like, I want the flat black line that I use for my line art in Illustrator. You just got to click on that and go to ink pen, and there you go. That's it. I'm going to hit tab to go to edit mode, turn everything back on. If you have this turned off, you won't see the edit lines. See, this is the actual 3D geometry of the line. Like, you can make this line, you know, Alt S to make something. This is the proportional editing mode. If I don't have that turned on, it's just modifying that one vertex. But if I turn this on, take a look at the options in there and understand what they do. And Alt S and your brackets or your mouse wheel turn the size of the circle of the area of effect up and down. If you don't like that curve, if you want it more sharp, you can go in here and edit the curve of it. You set it to constant. So see, it just does it constant of what's in the circle. It's flat, either it's doing it or it's not, or you set it to smooth and it does it smoothly. You can do, this is in 3D, this is in grease pencil, anything like that. But anyway, that's how you get it. Let's start over and get you right into just the black line and get ready to animate. So I'm going to start a new project. Just don't worry about saving anything. New project, delete default cube, delete the light, and we're going to hit keypad 0. If you don't have a keypad on your computer, you can click on the camera, hit F3, and type in set camera, is it? Yes, set active object as camera. And there you go. Anytime you know the name of a function but you can't remember that keyboard shortcut for it, hit F3 and just type it in. I know it was something unselected. You can hit F3 and start typing in unselect. Oh, there, yeah, hide unselected. And you even look to the right there and it shows you the little keyboard shortcut for it. Oh, it was Shift H, hide selected, Shift A. Yeah, F3 is your friend. F3 is usually the search button. Or yes, you can press this button here. Thank you. If you hang your mouse over it for a second, it'll show you what the function does and give you a little keyboard shortcut, even like right down here. The location of the object, the scaling of the object, how big is it, and so on. Anyway, brand new project. Delete the default cube. Delete the line. Keypad 0 or the camera button up here to get into our view. We're going to add the grease pencil object. It's going to show up. It's going to put it right where that little 3D cursor is. Shift A to add. Go down to grease pencil and add a blank one. Now we have it selected. There's our G pencil. We're going to open up the timeline, change it to dope sheet. Change the dope sheet list box to grease pencil so we see our frames. Open this up. And sometimes you have to grab out of it. And we're going to go up to draw mode. Set it to draw mode. Hit N I don't think it's showing any layers down here because there's nothing on them. That's another thing. Here, where is it? Because it has it set to hide layers. Where does it show empty layers? I can never find this. Anyway, we'll do that later. We're on a layer right now. Remember, you can go to this green thing and see, oh, actually, we don't have any layers. I forgot. When you add a blank one, it doesn't add any layers. So if you start drawing, it'll add a layer. Sorry, I just copy one of my old grease pencils. It's a long time since I've made one. So yeah, you got a layer. Now just draw a scribble. You got your layer. You can double click on it and name it. And remember, we have to give it a material, because you go to the materials here and there's no materials for it. We're going to make a new one, and it just defaults to black stroke. We're going to call that our line stroke, whatever. You can name it whatever, it doesn't matter. And now we've got this, and remember, our lines are kind of gray. Turn this crap off. So you hit the N key and go to the Tool tab and change pencil to ink pen. And there. So I'm going to hit edit mode up, select all of these, hit X and delete strokes. Turn the graph on for a second. And we're going to start anew. So we have our keyframe in our one layer now. We're going to go back to draw mode. I'm going to draw a stick man. That's our frame 1. You can hold control and mouse 3 left and right to zoom in and out on your timeline, or mouse 3 by itself to move around on the timeline. Zoom in. These are our frames. So now you want to go to the next frame and make a unique one. You click over here on frame 2, and up on this screen hit I, and these are all the different things you can do. You can duplicate the existing frame, all layers. Yeah, we only have one, so it doesn't really matter. Duplicate active keyframe. It makes a new keyframe with the art on it. See, I can go in here with the sculpt tool and move this around, and it's different. See, now we have 2 frames. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to click on the summary here and hit X, delete keyframe. So we're back to our first keyframe. If I wanted to go to frame 2 and add a new keyframe that's empty, it's the same thing. You hit I, but you go to insert blank keyframe, all layers. There. So now we have our 2 keyframes. See if I go into the second one and draw, well, let's say we wanted to see onion skins. You go over here, turn onion skins on. So now onion skins will be on, but you have to go to your materials and make sure the material is toggled for onion skin. I think they all toggle on by default. And you go back to your grease pencil object settings. The green one is always the special settings for the object you have selected. If it's a camera, grease pencil, whatever. But you go down to onion skinning tab, open it up. And mode. I think you leave that to keyframes, filtered by type. Frames before and frames after. Here's the custom colors you can set. And you have to go up here and turn on onion skin. I don't know if they're on by default. That's up here in this settings. Again, if you hit this button to disable everything, you won't see the onion skins. So here they are, and you can set it, to fade other objects and everything. Your onion skin settings can be different per object. If you have a different brand new grease pencil object, it will not copy these settings over. These are for this object. That is so great. Some people have no idea how nice of a feature it is to have You can have onion skins for one of your characters be blue and red. You can have them be purple and green for another one. It doesn't matter. But anyway, there's the onion skins. So you've got this frame and you've got your empty frame here. So that's showing you what was on the previous frame. I'm going to go to this frame, this empty. If you hold the timeline mouse down, you don't get to see the onion skins until you let go. That's another thing. If you want to scrub and see the animation, usually they stay on in Adobe Animate. So we're going to make a third empty keyframe here. So there's nothing here on frame 3. So we've got Stickman, empty frame, and now we're going to make another keyframe. Hit I, insert blank keyframe, all layers. See there, our onion skin went away because it's only set to one frame. If you want to, when you control drag the edges of the onion skin preview in the timeline on Adobe Animate, that's these two settings here. How many frames do you see before and how many after? So looking there, let's on frame 3, let's draw the stick guy over here. There. So now when I go to frame 2, there should be a blue guy here and a green guy to the left. See? And remember, those are just the onion skins. You can set how big they are. You can set them to whatever. I prefer red being the next one, like, ooh, that's heating up to be the next frame, and the blue one is cooling off because we already showed it. And it's just kind of my mental thing, and everybody has their own colors. So the middle frame here, you can see, you kind of draw what would be in between. Something like that. So now you can turn onion skinning off. Just there. And now watch when I drag back and forth. There you go. There's your animation. And what you can do, delete all these frames, draw a new one, and just write new file. There. And just save this. Save it as new sketch. God, the text is tiny. So now, whenever you want to make a new animation, you've set the pin, you've set your grease pencil, you've got it all added, you've done all of this stuff, you have all the settings, the material, you've got a material called line stroke. You just have this empty file, but you don't have to add the grease pencil set, the onion skin set, and do all this. Save this file as your template. So anytime you're just sitting around, you're like, I want to sketch a picture of a hyena or a car or a chainsaw or something. You just open this file. See, I'm working whatever, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I want to doodle something. You go to open, new sketch blend, it instantly opens. You just hit tab, select all of this, X delete, go to draw mode, and there you go. If you don't need the new file, delete this message. Just draw a little star up here and be in draw mode. Have it set to draw mode. See, I'm drawing right now, and save. Control S, save that. So I'm in this other file in object mode, just clicking on models and stuff. Not even in draw mode or anything. I want to doodle. I want to draw something right now. F1, new sketch, don't save, whatever. And there, look, you're in draw mode. You're right there. It saves your tool settings, what tool you had selected, the thickness of your brush, everything. It saves it. See, and don't save any changes. Go back over here to, set it as read only, so you can't save over it by mistake. Look, I'm looking at other stuff. I'm working, whatever, doing something completely different. I'm looking. I want to doodle a picture of Fox McCloud. F1 open. Bam. Right at drawing. Instantly. Get that file set up like that with the pin thickness, brush settings. Remember that in key I told you about? Over here, the brush settings. Everything advanced. You know, this simplification of the lines when you have all your overlays turned on and you go up to edit mode. If you want to just go in and edit individual vertices of the line, you want them. Thank you, Vexel and Vixen, by the way. Appreciate it. Yeah. You want to go in and edit individual things. You can select part of the line, right click and subdivide. You can make it more complex if the vertices aren't plentiful enough. You can go to sculpt mode, just like in 3D mode, where you're sculpting 3D models. You can do sculpt mode of your lines. Turn the overlay off. Excellent. You can sculpt your lines around. You know, they'll get jagged like that if they're not high definition. That's where all of these settings come into play. Right here, stroke, post-processing, subdivision, how much you want it to subdivide, simplifying after the fact. You got to pay attention to these right here, because if you don't have them set right and you draw some lines, your line will have like 1,000,000 vertices in it. You'll draw half of a picture of a car and the file will be like 100 megabytes. Some people want that though, so the option is there. Lafayette Prolex, however a feller says it. Appreciate the sub. But yeah, and anytime you just want to open that file, it's instantly there. You've got it ready to go. Anyway, so we've got this file and we're drawing. So we've got our little doodle here. Yeah, it kind of is. And you're like, okay, I've got my line art. How do we do fills? All right, the fill tool in Blender is very strange. That is one thing that a lot of people look at when they try to move over to Blender and they run away screaming, going, it's weird, I don't want to do it. They have recently added a fix for this. Term added, anal, LMAO. God, Twitch filter. Get your shit sorted, bud. Anyway, so we're on frame 1. We've only got one frame drawn, and I want to add colors. So over here in materials, we're going to add some slots. Let's just add 5 blank slots. You can see down how far down they go. This first slot, we're going to hit new material. And notice it just makes another stroke material. Nothing on your picture changes by adding materials. Your picture right here is using the first material slot, the only one we had. See, if I change this to any other color or anything like that, it's going to change everything I've drawn because we are using that material slot. If I select this one, and start drawing. See, it's using the other material, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go back and set our line stroke material back to black. This one is going to be a fill material. So we're going to turn off the stroke and turn on fill. You see its picture changes. You can see that's just a stroke and this one's a fill. We're going to call this Fox Fur 1. That's going to be Fox's primary fur color. Don't have to be perfect with it. There. That's the base color. Solid texture, just leave all that alone. We're just doing solid colors. And now in the next one, we want to make let's say I want to make a duplicate of this material and make it slightly brighter for Fox Fur 2. So we go to this empty slot down here, click, instead of clicking new, brand new, we're not doing that. We're gonna put an existing material in this slot. If I mess with this material and change it in any way, it changes it in every other slot as well. See? So, because we have not made a unique copy of it. It's just this material's in an extra slot. So to make a unique copy, you click this little button right here. It makes it into a new material. See it? Now it's made a duplicate. So we're going to double click and name this Fox Fur 2. And we're going to see now it's unique. If I didn't make that unique copy and just tried to change it, it would rename the other one as well. So remember that. So this one here, we're going to make brighter. Just like that. Just, a little bit brighter, whatever. Whatever you want to do with it. Just so you can see the difference between them. And of course, we're going to add a black. For this, I'm just, make a copy of Fox Fur 1. It's already set to fill and everything. Make a copy of it. Double click it. Just call it black fill. Now, selecting black fill, we're going to change this just to black. So that's a fill. See, if I try to draw with that, it makes a fill. But don't worry, we don't have to do that. Sometimes you have to click off of it to get the little icon to update. So, let's start with his nose. Remember what I said, we need to pick tool, layer, and material. So our tool will be the fill tool, our layer will be the fill layer. We don't have an extra layer down here. So, we go back over here to our unique object settings for the grease pencil and go to the layers. You can see the expanded little branches here. And we're going to hit the plus and add another layer, but we want that layer to be underneath the line layer. So after we double click on it and change its name to fills, we're going to click this button here to move it down. It's like moving effects and stuff, whatever. Priorities of spells in an RPG and whatnot, same concept. The top layer gets drawn on top. So see our fills layer, we're going to select fill because we've already got our fill tool selected. And we're going to go over here to our materials and select black fill. We're going to fill in his nose, obviously. So hitting the N key to bring up the brushes or the tools we're using on the tool tab. Notice we're using the fill area bucket. Ignore color, and we're using materials. We're not using colors. For brush settings, you go to advanced and boundary. This is what it detects. See, with everything on, you notice, you see this line of Fox's head. No matter what I make the thickness of this stroke, it doesn't matter. The only thing you can click on to select it is this single, two-dimensional line. The thickness of it doesn't matter. The geometry of the line is like a single thickness like that. Like it doesn't have any value to it. It is rendered on the fly. It's not like it's not the shape of a stroke. This is the difference between a stroke and a fill. So when you fill this in, if you want the fill to go just to the edges of what's empty, you would set this boundary to all. See if I fill this in here. See, it gets it just to the edges. I don't like to do that. I like to fill it all the way to that exact center, and I like the edit lines. That's what these are called, is edit lines. When you can actually see the vertices and select them and move them, that's edit lines. That's what's disappearing when I'm toggling the view. Which means in order for this part of Fox's muzzle to be filled in as an object, doing this won't be enough. That's just the actual thickness of the stroke touching itself. You have to actually go in and cross over that. The edit lines have to cross over. That's the way I like it. You don't have to do it that way, but you can. I like it this way. That means that as long as when I'm drawing my lines on the line layer, as long as I go past the center of the stroke, no matter how thick it is, those lines are going to be touching. So we're going to use the fill tool. We'll be on the fill layer, and we're going to use the black fill material and touch right here. And there you go. See, it makes a separate 3D object of the grease pencil, so you can move this around in 3D space if you wanted to, but we're not, because it's a 2D cartoon. But it's there. 1, 2, and 3. And in edit mode of grease pencil, 1, 2, and 3 toggle between single vertices. 2 is strokes. Think of it like the 1, 2, and 3 in 3D edit mode. The lines, edges, and faces. Or the vertices, edges, and faces. 3 is selecting parts of the lines that only intersect. Like, see, it automatically picks everything until it intersects another one. I don't really use that one. I use 1 and 2. I use 1 to select a vertex or 2 of each thing, and then I hit 2, and it's like I want to move the whole lines. That's how you do that. But anyway, we're on the fill layer with our fill tool. The tools only show up when you're in draw mode. If you got all this shit and you're like, wait, where's the paint and the fill bucket? You're in edit mode. Get back into draw mode. So we're in draw mode. We're going to toggle off the other stuff. We're going to pick our fill tool, our fill layer, and our fill material, Fox Fur 1. You cannot have donut fills automatically in Blender. This is what's going to get everybody. You would think that when I hit this and fill it in, see it, actually you have to put it behind everything too. So this up here is paint behind. If I don't have this turned on, see, it fills up over the nose that we already put down. If you have paint behind turned on and you do it, it puts it behind everything. Notice, this is a shape. I cannot put a hole in this shape. Let's say Fox got shot at. Watch this. This is the one thing that newcomers to grease pencil see, and then they run away screaming and crying. Let's say I'm on the draw tool, the line tool, the line layer, and line material. Let's say Fox got shot at and barely got away, and he's got a hole in his ear. And no, let's just say Fox is a really cool, chill dude, and he just went and did it. Fox is a really, really cool, chill dude. There we go. That's pretty chill. What do you think? So anyway, Fox went to Seattle and got some sweet gauges put in. And we want to fill in, you know, the gauges as a color. But we want Fox's fur to fill in too. So when you go into wait, forgot we got to put it on the fills layer, or that will happen. So there. Oh wait, this is not a good example. I got to put him in the middle. There. So anyway, I have this set to edit lines. So That means that everything, the actual lines have to cross over for it to fill a gap. So, fill tool, fill layer, fill material. There. Now see, you can't have a donut fill. I cannot cut a hole in this fill to make it see-through. And people see that and they're like, "Oh shit. Well, what if someone has a hole in their shirt? What the fuck do I do there?" Until recently, all you could do was, this works on screen space. So, you move half the picture like right here and fill it in, and then you would move up here and fill in the rest of it like that. And that's how you would have to do it. So you technically have two different fill objects here, and you have to do that every time. So recently they added a holdout material, basically an invisible fill material. And in order to do that, this is the fix. If this is still too much for you, you're being a whiny baby, and you need to just, not mind learning a new trick to get into a program that's a million times better than what you're using. We're going to take another empty material, new material. We're going to make it a fill, leave it black, and we're going to call it holdout. You don't have to. It's what it's called. And you check holdout in there. So now we have a holdout material that even shows up invisible. That's all you got to do. So fill tool, fill layer, fill material. We're going to fill in Fox's face there. And you see, it's like, we want to have the see-through hole there where, you go over here to holdout. Don't paint underneath, draw on top, and put your fill there, and put a fill there. And that's it. That's it. See? It's see-through. That's it. You just have an extra color in your materials for your character called holdout as a black fill, and you just check holdout. See? It's a black color, or you check holdout, and now it's see-through. That's it. That's all. That's all you've got to do. This is actually very recent. The version that I'm using right now is the version that had this. That's actually the reason that I jumped to this version, is because they added a holdout. So yeah, everybody is like, "Oh, you can't do donut fills. It's retarded. I don't want to use Blender." Like, you can't make that excuse anymore. So anyway, Fox has got his sweet gauges. And we're going to make them their own color here. So if you get out of object mode and you're in object mode and you have it unselected, select your grease pencil object. There it is. And then go up here and go to draw mode. Okay, I'm going to turn that grid off again. So we're going to go fill tool, fill layer, and fill material. I'm going to move this down to the bottom. I always put holdout at the very, very bottom. So we've got two empty slots here. Let's go ahead and finish Fox's face. So we're going to be drawing on top because it's going to be filling that in. See, if you set it up here to paint on bottom and you fill this in, see, it's there, but it's underneath. See, we painted it underneath, so you got to watch that. I have a keyboard shortcut. It's the 5 key. 1 is draw, 2 is fill, 3 is erase, 4 is something. Materials, yeah, 4 brings up my little material menu. And 5 is draw on top or draw underneath, because I use it so much. So we're going to draw on top, fill in his little colors there. We're going to add another material in one of our blank slots. Make a copy of Fox Fur 1. Remember, you got to click this button to make it a unique copy. And we're going to call it Fox Helmet. And we're going to change the color to gray. There. And fill that in. Now see down here, let's say I wanted to, I didn't draw his neck down all the way. Turn on your graph and stuff, and hit tab and go into edit mode. And up here, 1, 2, or 3, we're going to go to vertex mode. And just click this vertex and hit G. Make sure, and you can bring that down. You can hit E and extrude. Just keep hitting E click, and do that if you want. But what I usually do, I always have proportional editing mode on and connected only. If you don't have connected only, then it affects everything that you mouse wheel this circle up with. If you have a connected only turned on, notice the little dot goes away when you have that on there. That means it's just this stroke. Just this stroke is being affected, or the strokes you have selected. None of the other face of Fox up here gets affected by it unless you have that unchecked. So now everything does. Just so you know, that's proportional editing mode. The keyboard shortcut for that is O by default. Anyway, so let's say I wanted to go down here. If you noticed when this line was like this, let's say you've drawn it and you're like, wait, this is the collar of his shirt. I'll go ahead and fill that in, but we got a problem here. See this? And go back. So go into edit mode. I'm going to grab that vertex and have on proportional editing like this, and mouse wheel down, or left right bracket, until it's about this size, and control mouse 3 zoom in. And we just need this line right where it's crossing over, so you just hit G and put it right there. There is a little bump, but look, when you zoom out this far, no one's going to see that. Xenosauridae gifted 2 subs. J-Rock Master 392. Middle Wolf 86. Thanks for the gift subs. I appreciate it. So to fix this, G, you hit X, Y, Z, like whatever. But we're just gonna hit G and click it right there. Same thing with this one. Select the end vertex and hit G and just bring it until right when it crosses over the other edit line. There, go back to drawing mode. Make sure you're on fill, and then there you go. You got your gaps taken care of. And we're gonna make a new material, make a unique copy of it. Call it Fox Gauges. Did I spell that right? I didn't spell that right. Gouge. Gauge. Yeah, okay. And we're going to change that to red. Why not? And I'm filling them in, but nothing's happening. Do you know why? Because we have this toggled up here. So you have to make sure you're drawing on top. But see, now we've got this problem. Our gauge fill is on top of the holdout fill. Our holdout fill is in the middle of this gauge fill and the fur fill behind it. It's like sandwiched in between there. So let's say I only wanted to select anything in this frame that is the holdout fill and bring it all the way to the front. So you hit A selects everything, AA unselects everything. You can go over here and select by material. We click the holdout and click select. See, now it has them selected. See, you can actually see them there, but they're over the fox fur, but they're under the gauges. We want to bring them to the front. So let's say you're like, okay, bring to front. That's in Photoshop and every other program, but where would it be in here? You hit F3 and start to just type in front. Look, this is everything with the word front in it. And there you go. Arrange strokes, bring to front. And there they are. They're in front of everything. See, once you get that down to muscle memory and you're not confused by it anymore, you get really quick at it and you stop being afraid of this fucking program. But anyway, that's your fill and your line layer. And this is not rendered right now. If you hit Z and go up to rendered mode, you'll notice he's very dark. So you can hit shift right click to put your 3D cursor somewhere, just like that, about right there. That'll do. And hit shift A and add a light. It's only 10 watts. Let's make it 1,000 watts. Ow! Change the color. Now we're going to hit keypad 0 and go back to our camera. Now if I hit F12 and go to the image editor and go to render result, there you go. There's my render. There's my little Fox McCloud. This is a PNG that I can save with Alt-S. I don't even know if anybody is actually like going along with this or not. I just wanted to share it in case someone is, in case there's even just one person that's gonna watch this. But yeah, that's how quick you can do something. And let's say you wanted to do another frame. You go into draw mode. You set this back to my timeline. My dope sheet. Remember, you go to the dope sheet and set this to grease pencil. This is our frame. It's only one frame and it goes on forever until there's another frame. Like if it holds until frame 5 and then I hit I, insert blank frame on all layers. There, so Fox holds until frame 5 and then something else shows up. And you go back to timeline, you set your start and your end here. So let's say we had a 5-frame animation set to end to 5, and there you go. If you play, it'll loop the whole thing. So let's go back and select him. Go to draw mode, open the summary on him. Sometimes you have to unselect him and select him again. Oh wait, I wasn't on the. See, you can get tricked by that. You can be on the. If it doesn't say grease pencil up here, you're not on the grease pencil thing. You got to go to the dope sheet and set dope sheet to grease pencil. And expand summary, or you won't see all your layers down there. It's tricky sometimes. So I'm going to delete this frame 5. So we've just got. This is a looping 5-frame thing of Fox. Let's say I want to just change his mouth. Let's frame 3. We're going to make a copy of this frame. So in drawing mode, go to frame 3 and hit I. Duplicate active keyframes, all layers. We're just going to make a copy of it. So there, we have 2 unique frames, even though they look the same. But on this one, I'm going to hit tab, and I'm going to go into edit mode and delete this whole stroke. I'm going to go back to drawing mode, go to my line tool, my line layer, and my line stroke material. Let's see, go back and forth here. Move this up, why not? This is just edit mode. I'm clicking and doing it by stroke mode. And now I'm going to go to my fill tool, my fill layer, and my black fill, and fill that in. And play the animation. There. There you go. That's how you do an animation in Blender, pretty much. You can have it just, if you don't want the lighting to be affected, you can just go back to solid render mode with the Z key. Rendered, material, wireframe. Yeah, that's how you do it. Rotate the canvas in your camera view. I don't think they have that implemented yet. If you're in this camera, technically you can go to the camera here in the orange object settings and do this. Kind of like that. So yeah, you can kind of, if you hit period and set it to 3D cursor, and put your 3D cursor here and hit R. I suppose that would work. So yeah, you can kind of do it that way. As of right now, grease pencils do not cast shadows. You can write a script to render the frame as a PNG and bring the PNG in as a texture, and PNGs. You can have a PNG of this and it will cast a shadow. Just so you know. Or here's another thing. You go in object mode. We're going to turn the graph off for a minute. I have him selected, even if you can't see it. He's selected. This is the fun part. Your grease pencil object here. See, I could even move him around while he's animated. Doesn't it? It looks from the side, it looks kind of like one of those melty bead things that you put the beads in and they melt. But anyway, you've got this animation. Go over here. You've got modifiers. This is for the object that you have selected. And open this up and just play with them. Like mirror modifier. Usually you would start this off as a flat thing. But let's see. Noise modifier. See, there's your noise modifier. You just want a squiggle vision thing without having to redraw every fucking frame. That's a noise modifier. You set the scale, like what you want the scale of the noise to look like. How much noise you want. See, look how bland this is. And then you just add a little bit of squiggle to it. Now it looks like something adorable that would be at a kid's show. You just figure out what you want your noise to be at. You know, if you want it really fine or really, really broad. And change the thickness. Set the thickness of the noise to be different. Or I mean the noise of the thickness to be, you know, the thickness is affected. Strength of the line. And if you want to affect the position so much and then affect a different thing with a different type of noise, just add another noise modifier. And here's effects. Just like modifiers are basic geometric changes to the grease pencil object itself. Like thickness, you can toggle the thickness up and down of what you want it to be. You know, absolute, relative, whatever. If you want, you can just, if you want to apply it, that's apply right here. If you're like, oh, I like what it did, like, or drawing with a mirror modifier, that's always fun. And then you hit apply. It applies it and deletes the effect or the modifier. Effects. Let's go to effects now. These are your effects. They're kind of self-explanatory. Rim lighting. Everybody kind of knows what rim lighting is. Add a drop shadow. Let's move the shadow up though. If you want to change the priority, you move them like that. In case you were wondering about shadows earlier, I know this is kind of a cheap way to do it, but it's all there. There you go, that's what you're looking for. You can even add blur to the rim lighting, look at that. I hope all of this is making sense. I'm trying to keep it a little basic for now. But is it just all the very easy stuff that you can do with grease pencil, like right off the bat? If you go back and watch this, you'll be able to do it. I don't know. I need to make a video of this at some point. Here's my best impression of Fox McCloud.
I am so short. Oh no, my ship is going down. Just like me. Yeah, I went there.
No, but he really is a dork.
Meh, 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 meh. I want to be the greatest and save the world because I'm such a nice guy.
Altruism. It's overrated. Nah, he's an alright guy. But anyway, yeah. That's kind of the basics of grease pencil. I didn't mean to go on for so long. But anyway, I'm going to get back to what I was doing. Just kind of wanted to go over the grease pencil and how not difficult it is. Seriously, it's super easy to get into.